Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel Cobble, write-in candidate for U.S. Representative in Louisville, Kentucky. And I hope that you write me in for U.S. Representative for Congressman on November 8th. I recommend, because of the unresolved irregularities in Kentucky voting, I recommend that everybody vote on Election Day on November 8th at your neighborhood precincts. These precincts are not set up properly the way that they should, but I believe that they provide the better security than the mail-in ballots in the county-wide precincts that are unconstitutional. Okay, and so I'm going to read my report here to the Metro Council that I reported to them on October 13, 2022, that lists this is the report right here, and that lists the 11 liens that disqualify our state and county officials, requires them to be removed from office. Okay, and then after I read this report, this October 13 report, I'm going to be showing these liens one by one so that you can have for your for your record, so that the public will have this information. Some of these liens are posted on my website, but my web host, edirecthost.com, will not allow me to update any of my activities, my files, that is preventing people from knowing my latest activities. And I'm going to go into that a little bit into this report also. So here we go. Council members, for full disclosure, I am running as a write-in candidate for U.S. Representative Congressman in Louisville, Kentucky's District 3 in the November 8 election. Today, I wish to report the 11 liens issued that disqualify officials from holding office. The law requires these officials are promptly removed. The following are running for re-election: Jefferson County Clerk Bobby Holesclaw, Judge Philip Shefford of Franklin County, Sheriff Chris Quire of Franklin County, and Sheriff John Aubrey of Jefferson County. Judge Audra Eckerly, running for Kentucky Court of Appeals, is an offender is an offender named in the lien on Sheriff Aubrey. A tort claim is forthcoming against Judge Eckerly. The other liens are on David James, President of Louisville Metro Council, Michael Adams, the Kentucky Secretary of State, Karen Sellers, Director of the Kentucky Board of Elections, Denise Clayton, Chief Judge of the Kentucky Court of Appeals, PDG Realty of Louisville, and Jared During, former Director of the Kentucky Board of Elections. Except for Sheriff Aubrey, these offenders are under legal admissions to election fraud, etc. The Kentucky Constitution requires the security of neighborhood voting precincts and other safeguards. We now know how county and state officials are manipulating the vote counts. If these officials are not removed, then this illegitimacy of government condemns our neighborhoods our society. Since serving these initial liens, Google is preventing me from pasting my email list to inform others. Twitter's Elon Musk is preventing uploads of my JPEG files. And my web host, as mentioned, edirecthost.com, is preventing the upload of my new files. All of these are outright antitrust violations that require these companies to be broken up. Next, you have the first 4 pages of my September 20th, 2022 Notice of Tort Claim to remove various federal officials, including Senator Mitch McConnell and President Joe Biden. This tort claim is necessary because these officials are creating crises that threaten the sovereignty of the United States. As only one example, they are refusing to reverse 2 of the 3 antitrust violations, causing the debt crisis that's collapsing the economy. This Metro Council is also negligent if our economy collapses, since you have been fully briefed but have not acted to stop this collapse. See this 19-page tort claim at theprotectamericaproject.org. This ends my report, and now I'm going to commence to showing you each of the liens as well as the invoices that were served with these liens. Thank you so much. Okay, here we go. This first one is Jefferson County Clerk Bobby Holtzclaw. This is the actual lien that disqualifies her from being in office, and I'm flipping it over to the actual invoice served to the Louisville Metro government, served on the Louisville Metro government via Mayor Fisher. Okay. And here we have the lien on Sheriff John Aubrey. Okay. And you see here what Judge Audrey Eckerly is mentioned in this lien. Okay. She must be removed from office. In this particular situation in 2014, they prevented me, Daniel Cobble, from going into the courtroom to deal with to process my cases, civil cases that were filed in court. So they were denying me due process. And this right here is the invoice, again, served on the Louisville Metro government via Mayor Greg Fisher. Okay. And here we have Kentucky Secretary of State Michael Adams. This is the lien for obstructing the 2022 election process as described in the tort claim. And this is the invoice served upon the Kentucky Department of Revenue, care of Allison Ball. Okay. And this is Karen Sellers, the director of the Kentucky Board of Elections. And again, you can go into the tort claim that explains why these liens had to be issued. They're refusing to enforce specifically Section 147 of the Kentucky Constitution that require neighborhood voting precincts. And at one point, this is the invoice on that lien. At one point, the entire nation, before the onslaught of computers, the entire nation was voted by neighborhood voting precincts, which were very secure, the most secure form of voting. In the neighborhood voting precincts, the precinct officers must come from the neighborhood where the officers live. It cannot be a county or a state official that deals with the vote, that is, unless they live within that precinct. Okay, so here we have Michael Adams for election fraud. Okay, and this was goes back to the 2020 election when this was discovered, what these people were doing in violating the Kentucky Constitution. This is the invoice served upon the Kentucky Department of Revenue, okay, for payment on this lien. I don't care about the money. What is important is that these liens be prosecuted, that they remove these people from office so that we can once and for all get our voting system squared away. So to make sure everybody's votes are counted. And this right here is in the same issue is the lien on Sheriff Chris Quire of Franklin County. And for his refusal to process the criminal complaint against the state and county officials that were committing the election fraud back in 2020. And this is the invoice on Sheriff Quire that was served on the Franklin County Fiscal Court. They will be the payee on this lien. Okay, and here we have David James, the lien on him that now disqualifies him for holding office. And for the same election fraud in 2020, okay, here's the invoice that has been served on him. In this situation in 2020, my wife and I, with the conspiracy, David James and PDG Realty, and the Kentucky Human Rights Commission harassed my wife and I out of our home. They were trying to evict us out into the streets, and we were harassed out of our homes, out of our home back then, and it got to be a real nasty situation. And this is Judge Philip Shelford, the lien on Judge Philip Shelford. When we filed suit on these horrendous things that were happening, Judge Philip Shepard here refused to process our claim, our lawsuit. And let me say something about judges that refuse to process. This is a most inhumane act of refusing to process a claim, because what the judge is doing, he's leaving the injuries intact. The victim, which we were the victim in this situation, the victim cannot get wholeness from cannot be made whole, and the injury remains intact and unresolved. And this is the most inhumane act or inact when the judge or the jurisdiction officer refuses to process a claim. And this is the invoice on Judge Philip Shepard. And you can zoom in if you want to get more detail. And this was served on the Kentucky Department of Revenue. Okay. And this is Chief Judge Denise Clayton. And the tort claim was filed on her in that same court case of Judge Shepard. Chief Judge Clayton refused to process the lawsuit, the appeal regarding the lawsuit, of which we were chased out of our homes, harassed out of our home. And we're now living, as you can see there on the invoice and on the lien, we're living at 220 Casabella Court now. That's our new address. Everybody knows it because it's on much of my campaign literature and everything. We have nothing to hide here. Okay. And this is the invoice served on the Kentucky Department of Revenue requiring payment on the lien on Judge Clayton. And this is the former Kentucky director of the Kentucky Board of Elections, Jared Deering. And during the 2022 campaign, during the 2022 election, Jared Deering and Michael Adams, the Secretary of State, certified that I only received 18 votes, total votes, throughout the state of Kentucky, which is impossible because in going throughout Kentucky, virtually everybody that I met with were fed up with government. And so when they certified in November, I believe it was November 2021, November 2020, that that I only received 18 total votes. I called around to Jefferson County and just to get a sampling of people that said that they voted for me, and at least 41 people confirmed that they did vote for me on just in Jefferson County. And this sampling, I wrote this sampling up as in the form of an affidavit and filed it in court. And Judge Shepard still refused to use it as evidence to show that Jared Deering and the Secretary of State Michael Adams certified the wrong, a false vote count. And so that's why this thing had to go further to get it on record. Okay, and then PDG Realty. This is the last one. This is PDG Realty. And this was my landlord that chased us out of our apartment home of 23 years. And they conspired with David James and the Kentucky Human Relations Commission to achieve this. But it's a good thing that Judge Mitch Perry of the Jefferson County Circuit Court would not allow them to issue the eviction, so that we were allowed to get a home, to get out of this situation. When we purchased the home, as I stated earlier, on Casabella Court. Okay, so this is the last of the 11 liens. It's a 10-person, well, 9 personnel, because we have the lien here on PDG Realty. And then, of course, this was the invoice on PDG Realty. And so those are the 11 liens. And many of you may have already have seen this tort claim. This is the same administrative type action for removing these federal officials, as mentioned in the report. Okay, and the reason why this claim is so important is because we do not owe the $31 trillion that in our national debt that they say that we owe. This can be seen just on its face value. This right here, this figure here, Wall Street in the Federal Reserve cabal of banks, of commercial banks, are sitting on at least $1.2 quadrillion in derivative contracts alone. So with holding that much wealth, there's no way that we owe this 31 trillion. And this claim is making the case that these antitrust violations are caused by, this disparity in the debt is caused by these 3 antitrust violations here. And many of you have been briefed on what these violations are. And this is what is leading us quickly to the collapse of the economy. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that also. But the this tort claim is claiming damages, restitution to U.S. citizens. This 1 through 6. Now there this claim can be amended. There is room for improvement. For example, this restitution does not include the trillions that we have paid to the Federal Reserve debt since 1999. Now, before these antitrust violations went into effect, we were running surpluses year on year. And so it is only because of these violations that we begin to run deficits after deficit and continue to accumulate the debt. So this money should be paid back. This money should be paid back to us, and that would be restitution number 7, the repayment of the money of the trillions that Americans have paid toward the debt since 1999. That would be number 7 here. And then number 8, although it's mentioned in the claim, it's in this tort claim, it is not identified as a restitution issue. But number 8, let's see, number 7, see, we just said what 7 would be, would pay back the debt that's already been paid. I mean, to pay back the money applied to the debt since 1999. And number 8 is to replace the Federal Reserve with the Office of Commercial Contracts, the OCC, Commercial Contracts. Okay, and this will replace the Federal Reserve. And the one thing to understand about the Federal Reserve is that it only exists to create debt. It's not done America any good whatsoever. And when the Federal Reserve was implemented in 1913, America was in good fiscal shape. We were on our way, we were quickly paying down the war debt. And what these people have done since then is just made life miserable for Americans, ever since the inception in 1913, including the 1933 collapse of the 1933 a Great Depression, okay, and many more scams ever since then, including the 2008 mortgage-backed security meltdown was due to the Federal Reserve. That was caused by the Federal Reserve. If you don't think I don't know what I'm talking about, give me a call and we can talk about it. I know exactly what caused the 2008 meltdown, and it's not nearly as complicated as some of you may think it is. And then today, the worst of it all, okay, is today's debt crisis, of which, this thing began in 1999 with repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act, which again, as I alluded to, also caused the 2008 mortgage-backed security crisis. Okay, and so this is Mitch McConnell. You know who he is. This is Chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. This is your president. This is Nancy Pelosi. And I know that some of you are steadfast Democrats or steadfast Republicans, but these people are working together to destroy your country, okay? And then this is page 2 of the tort action. Uh, we have Albert Boria, the chief executive advisor of pharmaceuticals, and then Rochelle Walensky, the CDC director, and Dr. Anthony Fauci. Everybody knows who he is. But these people, as you see here, the manufactured COVID crisis is killing Americans and consuming U.S. tax dollars. The main thing that we're making the charge here is that they are ignoring other viable treatment means for COVID, of which it is the reason it is endemic, continues to be with us, is because they've rejected other viable methods of treating COVID that would help to reduce the damages, the deaths that have occurred due to the disease. And this is criminal right here, what these people are doing by just requiring the vaccines that have terrible side effects and not the less expensive treatments such as hydroxychloroquine with zinc that knocks it out in 3 days, and ivermectin that knocks it out within 3 days. These medications are safe enough to give the children. And of course, vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D, it just goes on and on. The criminal neglect of these people pushing the vaccines that is causing the COVID to be endemic within the U.S. so that it continues to be prevalent, throughout the population. And then one other thing to show you, okay, I mentioned the 3 antitrust violations, and these are the 3 violations right here, 1, 2, 3. I won't mention very much about them, except that the number 2 here is raising the prime interest rate from the 0.25%, almost 0 percentage rate. And most people think that raising the prime interest rate is damaging the economy, but it is strengthening the economy. We won't go into it. You can go into the tort claim, and you can even go into even more detail in the lawsuit that's referenced in the tort claim for that explains more about the prime interest rate. The prime interest rate is bringing money into the economy. The banks are beginning to pay dividends on people holding money because of the higher prime interest rates. And the prime interest rate, the higher rate is doing is chasing the speculators out of the markets, out of the consumer markets and the stock markets, so that when I say consumer markets, I mean like real estate markets and then the retail markets. These people have been using the low interest rates to run around buying up property, but the higher rate is chasing them out of these markets, and this is why the prices are going to begin to come down. For example, they reported the other day that just day before yesterday that the home prices have come down 27% since the Federal Reserve started increasing the prime interest rate. This is because it's chasing the speculators, the Wall Street speculators out of the markets because they don't like paying these higher rates. And so what the stock market and the interest rates are really doing is correcting from the last 20 years of super low rates that has ran up the debt and damaged the economy. But we still need for them to reverse number one and number three in order to get the U.S. economy back online. And that is the reason for this tort claim. If these guys is not going to officially reverse all three of these, then these liens have to be issued on these people for their removal from office. And one other caveat, okay, now I know that many of you who have not studied this is not going to agree with me, but Jerome Powell stated that the reason he's raising the prime interest rate is to reduce inflation, but that is not the reason he is reducing the prime interest. He's increasing the prime interest rate. Again, increasing the prime interest rate is good for the economy, but the only reason that he's increasing the prime interest rate is so that it will to raise money for the U.S. war effort. And him raising the prime interest rate, as you know now, the Ukraine situation is being played out toward the prospect of nuclear war. And I predicted this all along, that this would be happening as a pretext for Trump to bring communism into the United States. And in order to prepare for war, to sell war bonds, they have to increase the prime interest rate to sell treasury bonds. Okay, in order to provide to raise money for the war effort. This is a tactic of that the Federal Reserve has long used, including back in 1944 in even World War I, to increase the prime interest rate to raise money, to raise the price of treasury bonds, to raise money for the war effort. That the President Biden preparing for war is really the reason that he began raising the prime rate earlier this year, and it helps to confirm. Well, it does confirm what I've been saying all along, is that his real aim is to begin to initiate the Ukraine crisis for the prospect of bringing the U.S. into communism. And if Putin, especially would, if Biden was serious about stopping the war, ending the war, especially since Putin has come out threatening nuclear weapons, then the only way the way to handle this is for Biden to label Putin a war criminal. And by this will help to end the war, as I pointed out in some of my other YouTube work. This will help to end the war by by classifying Putin a war criminal. At that point, Putin's rank and file will begin to drop him, and will begin to end him, to end his leadership in Russia. And ending his leadership would allow us to get the Russian gas and natural gas and oil back online, to to normalize the world markets again. But since Biden is not uh, classifying Putin a war criminal, then this is another of the telltale evidence that that he's working with Biden is working with Putin to create this fake war to bring the U.S. into communism. At this point, the only thing we can do is to demand that Biden be removed from office. And so long as we're not willing to do that and reverse the 3 antitrust violations right here, then we can look for the destruction of the United States as we know it. We can fix this, but we have to have the willingness to demand these basic things be done. Okay, so there you have it. These liens in the tort claim here, and so I hope that you do what you can to put your voice and add your voice to help ending this situation. We all have a responsibility to demand that these liens be implemented, be processed, so that these people are removed from office. It will definitely make life better here in Kentucky once this is done. Okay, thank you very much. And this this event is ending now. Take care. Have a good day, and see you on November 8th at the polls. Daniel Cobble here signing out. Okay, there you have it. The explanation on those liens that we need to demand. We have to demand or enforce, so that we can remove these people from office. And I'm not the best speaker in the world, but I do understand what needs to get done in order to save our nation and to get America back on track. So sending me to Washington uh, will put a lot of pressure on our government to uh, to turn things around and to help simplify life in America. Okay, and so I hope it wasn't too boring, and that you got the information you need to proceed further and to help get the word out on getting me elected to Congress as a write-in. Remember, you write my name in. You have to remember my name, Daniel Cobble, and write it in, and we can get this done. So if everybody do what they can, you know, this thing will get turned around. Okay? Take care. I'll see you out there on the campaign trail. If you see me out there putting up signs and stuff, make sure you honk your horn and wave your hand, okay? Take care.